It is 10 o'clock. I'll call the June 30th, 2023 meeting of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors to order. This morning we have Pastor Jeremy Farley from the Restoration Church to provide the invocation. If you would please stand and remain standing for the pledge.
Well, I appreciate you having us, and on behalf of Restoration Church, I just want to say to every person here that we are praying for you. We recognize you don't have an easy job, and so to make your job easier, I'll be the only person you'll talk to today that won't ask you for money. So let's go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, I pray that you would be with this body, God, this assembly. Lord, we believe with all our heart, God, that there is no greater calling than to serve fellow humanity. Father, I pray that you would give them wisdom, God, that you would give them grace, God, that you would give them understanding, and Lord, that everything that they do would be pleasing to you. Father, we thank you that there are people who are willing to serve in government. God, so often it's an easy position to cuss, it's an easy position to complain about, but there are very few willing to actually serve in that capacity. I pray that you would bless them, that you'd bless their homes, their families. God, I pray that this community would stand out as a light in our state for how things should be run, and God, that you would give us just a divine grace. It is in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is always citizens' time. I'll call you up and you will have 3 minutes. The first person we have signed up is Miss Linda Meyer.
Good morning, gentlemen. These people, Point Broadband, we're at Speedwell Elementary School. They had a tent set up on Tuesday. A neighbor stopped in and told me, I went down there, nobody on my street was alerted. They told us, oh, you had gotten something in the mail. No, none of us did get anything in the mail. And between the beginning of the road and we're into Smith County, we're talking about 75 homes or more that would really, really like to be able to have good internet service. So if there's anything you can do to help us to alert these people that they're doing something about it and letting the public know it doesn't happen and it didn't happen. And even worse, where our phones in that area were out on Monday and Tuesday, didn't come back till very, very late on Tuesday. So we couldn't alert our neighbors to the fact that these guys were down there waiting for us. So we'd appreciate you letting them know that we are interested and we are there. Thank you. And also the detour signs for the Gleaves Road Bridge are up.
All right. Thank you, Miss Meyer. Next person we have signed up is Mr. Gus Cancer. Gus?
Morning. Weird to say that when we're usually here in the evening. All of you are probably aware, Speedwell Fire Department took delivery of 18 air packs and 36 cylinders Thursday a week ago. We completed our training on those last night, and they should be put in service by Saturday evening. We have to do some lettering and stuff on them so that we can make sure they're ours at a fire scene. We just wanted to come and publicly thank each and every one of you for the hard work that you put in getting those for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Gus. All right, that's all we have signed up for citizens' time, so I'll close citizens' time. Next item on our agenda is we have to have a public hearing for some surplus real estate. And I'll read the public notice for the record. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on Friday, June 30th, 2023 at 10:05 a.m. to hear public comment for potential conveyance of lots in Progress Park or on Chapman Road from any of the following tax parcels: 27-61, 27-59, 42-41, 27-59A, and 51-141C. This includes property and easements to be potentially conveyed to the Virginia Department of Transportation in Norfolk and Southern. The hearing will take place in the boardroom of the County Administration Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia. Mr. Baird, do you want to add anything or summarize the property?
Just the sentence there about the primary purpose of this, we do have where VDOT is installing the connector road along the Lot 20 Progress Park north of Lot 24. We will be dedicating 6-7 acres to them for the connector road, and then also Norfolk Southern down on the southeastern portion of the property down over the hill from Kent's Lane. They will be acquiring some property from us for some railroad expansion they have there. Just open it up for comments, and appreciate the opportunity for working with both of these partners that are critical to us.
All right, and we did not have anybody signed up to speak for the public hearing portion, or the citizens' time portion of the public hearing. Does any board member have anything to add to the surplus property? All right, hearing no comments, I'll close the public hearing. We'll move on to the payment of invoices. Each board member has received in their board package a copy of the invoices that need to be paid. And I'll entertain a motion to pay the invoices.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Burnett. Is there any invoice any board member wants to pull out and or discuss? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
So approved. Next item on our agenda is the minutes of our previous meeting from June the 13th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Burnett. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll do all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are so approved. Moving on to old business, we have some appointments. I'll start off. We do have a person interested, Miss Audra Lucas. I sent out an email to serve on the DSS board. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Miss Lucas to the DSS board.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any questions or discussion about that appointment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? She is so appointed. And Miss Collins, I will get you her contact information. Does anybody else have any appointments to be made?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to appoint Ms. Mary Hagee to the Wythe Grayson Regional Library Board.
All right. Have a motion by Mr. Smith to appoint Miss Mary Hagee to the Wythe Grayson Regional Library Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Terry. Is there any questions or discussion on that appointment? And I assume that will be effective July 1st, Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Okay. All right, does that lead to any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Hagee is so appointed, and Mr. Smith, if you'll get Ms. Collins her contact information. Do we have any other appointments? All right, moving on. Do we have anything else under old business?
I do not have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hankins, do you have anything? Move into reports. We have a treasurer's report. Ms. Gwen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Mr. Kinzer noted earlier, it is strange saying good morning instead of good evening. But okay, I'm going to have pretty much a short and sweet report this time. I'll give you more of a year-end report for the Treasurer's Office next month when we are officially at year-end after the close of business today. But the consolidated account, cash account, contains a balance of $87,575,931. Let me read that again. $87,575,931. Included within that balance, the general fund balance is $47,883,565. Today, of course, as you know, is fiscal year end, so we'll be staying late this evening to get everything finished out so that we can turn the system and the month and year over to Ms. Williams and the finance department for them to close out. So we're hoping that that goes well for them, and we should be back fully functional and operational on Wednesday. The only reason that we wouldn't be is dependent upon if there's any issues through closeout and any slowdown in trying to run year-end reports for the auditors that I'll be running over the weekend once we're allowed to get back into the system. But we'll be open till 5 today. Some departments are closing early to allow us time to be able to get everything closed out, but everything should be back running normal on Wednesday when we return from the holidays. So, but as I noted, I'm kind of short and sweet this time. I'll give you a final report of the year as far as collections through June 30th at the July meeting when I'm here, since we'll have all those numbers through the end of today to include in that. So, but does anybody have any questions at this point?
Does anybody have any questions
Or
for
comments?
Ms. Williams? All right, thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the Commissioner, Ms. Vaught. Do you have anything?
I do not have anything unless someone has a question for me.
Does anybody have anything for Ms. Vaught? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Have a Sheriff Foster. Does anybody have anything for the sheriff? All right, we'll move on to new business. Excuse me. We have our consent calendar. Entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Cook. Is there any questions or discussion on the consent calendar? All right, here and now we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Terry?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. Next, we have our fiscal year 24 first quarter appropriations. I'll entertain a motion to approve the appropriations for the fiscal year starting tomorrow.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Mr. Cook. Is that correct? Did you say that? Okay. Is there any questions or discussion on the appropriations? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
So approved. Next, we have our Crossroads Regional Industrial Facility Authority Financial Report. Mr. Barry?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Crossroads met, declared their dividends. We received their check. They provided us a copy of their financial report. Their transactions are very minimal and everything is in order. We just recommend you all accept their report.
All right, entertain a motion to accept the CRIFA financial report.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Horny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any questions or discussion on the financial report? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Terry?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. Next item we have is the Apex Authority dissolution resolution. Mr. Bear?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have been meeting with their chairman. They have sent a letter to us confirming that they have paid all of their bills, and the letter is attached there on page 163. They have provided us a check of $12,383.64, which is the closeout of their account that has gone into our funds, and then a list of their equipment that is there. As you're aware, the lease ended last June 30th for the Apex Authority. They were created to oversee that facility at the time. Since there is no longer a lease in place with them, there is no need for the authority to be in existence, and Mr. Farthing has helped to develop this resolution based upon the ordinance for you all to dissolve the Apex Regional Exposition Center Authority.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
No.
Have a second by Mr. Cook. Is there any questions or discussion about the resolution? Right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
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 So approved. Anything else under new business?
No, sir, I do not have anything else.
Does anybody else have anything under new business? All right, we'll move on to staff reports. Have some year-end updates. First one we have is Mr. Blanchett. Is he here? We'll go to the man of many hats, Mr. Hankins.
I apologize that Danny can't be here this morning. He was looking forward to the opportunity, and I was looking forward to having him present to you. Unfortunately, we had an employee leave this morning, submit their resignation, so that was our shelter attendant, so we'll be looking to fill that position over the next couple of weeks. This has been a good year for us, even though it's been a transitional year for animal control. Our longtime animal control officer, Arlen Dunford, left us last fall, and we went through a transition. We interviewed candidates who were interested in being our animal control supervisor, and we selected Danny, and I'm very happy with the work that Danny's been doing. He's been moving the department in the right direction. He and Officer Dolly have been through their firearms recertifications, so they're up to date on their firearms. We were able to hire a third animal control officer, Caitlin Alderson, moved over from our dispatch department, which caused Mary Jo to want to throw some stuff at me, and she may be getting ready to now. But my back's turned to her, and I won't hold it against her. Caitlin was able to go through the animal control school at Rappahannock, and so she is certified as an animal control officer. And with Scott's help, we've been able to move toward getting all of them certified through the court as special conservators of the peace. And Mo, I don't know if that's going very far yet or not, but oh, okay, good. Thank you. That's good news. If you've looked at the numbers on animal control over the last few months, you'll have seen a dramatic uptick in the number of dogs that we've been taking into the dog shelter, and that's because we've been moving a lot of dogs out of the shelter. And it seems like there's, the nature abhors a vacuum. So we have a lot of dogs that have been owner surrenders, that have been abandoned or have been picked up by our officers. But we've been able to work with rescue partners to move those animals out, either into our community or into other communities where they can be adopted out. Danny has also worked very closely with our existing rescues and has also gone out and developed new partnerships with other rescues. So instead of the 2 rescue agencies that we've been working with, I think we're up to 6 rescues now that we have partnerships with. So if one of our local rescues can't help, we have other rescues that we can reach out to help move those animals. I think our biggest month was April. I believe we had 53 dogs that moved through the shelter during that time. You'll have seen, those of you who are on Facebook and monitor the animal shelter, you'll have seen a lot of posts from our animal shelter attendant about dogs that are available. That has gotten a lot of attention, and we've been able to move a lot of dogs through as a result. I would be remiss, since we have our meetings posted on YouTube, if I didn't remind folks, there are options for getting your pets spayed and neutered. Be responsible pet owners. Get them to the vet so we don't have litters of puppies. And as far as the town goes, litters of kittens, overwhelming our shelter. I know our shelter is full right now. The cat shelter is full for the town, so it's not a great time for us to have to take on additional responsibilities or additional pets. That said, there's also been some difficult investigations that our officers have had to do this year. There's been some pretty horrific situations. Won't go into details, but our officers do their best to diligently investigate, especially cases of animal cruelty or in cases where people are attacked. And while there are folks in the community that don't like our animal control officers to do things like checking dog tags, that is an important thing. We want to make sure that animals are healthy, that they're vaccinated, that they don't pose a health hazard to folks in the community, which is a big part of the reason why we do what we do. If you have any questions about animal control, I'll do my best to answer them. Like I say, Danny, he had a dog bite this morning. He had to pick another dog up and had not been able to clean the kennels yet, so filling in for that employee who didn't come in yet.
Does anybody have anything for Mr. Hankins about animal control? And I know you put it in your report, but I appreciate getting the new sign put up for the dog shelter. I'm not sure what you've done with the car floor mat that was hanging off the old one. I think Mr. Parnell wanted it for his truck.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't mention that, we did have a change in one of the things that we have done for years. Animal control officer vehicles have been unmarked for years. They really need to look like law enforcement vehicles, so that if they roll up on somebody's property, they're easily identifiable as a law enforcement vehicle. That gives somebody who is receiving a visit from them reason to believe that somebody's there on official business. And so now all of those vehicles have been marked by the same company that did the sign for the animal shelter, and I'm pretty happy with the look. And thank you to Sheriff Foster for approving the lettering and striping that was done on those vehicles.
All right, thank you, sir.
While I'm up here, if you don't mind, I'll also mention emergency services because it's not in your list. This is also a transitional year for emergency services. I'm very happy with Mr. Parnell. He's been with us since April 1st and has been running emergency calls and has been hard to restrain from running emergency calls. So happy with that. You all know with the budget that we've just been through that this coming year will be an even bigger transitional year as we try to consolidate emergency services to meet new state mandates about how essential emergency medical services are provided. So that we can be competitive, we're going to be bringing on the rescue squad folks as our employees once we have agreements in place with both of the rescue squads. We do have agreements yet to put in place, but we're working on those now. We've got a lot of state paperwork that's going to have to be done over the next 6 months, but we have a path forward on that. We're looking to get things up and running by January 1st for rescue operations. We are still working on part-time firefighters for Max Meadows. We have 4 that we've identified that are good candidates. We're going to make offers to. We have a stack of 8 applications in my office that we're going to try to interview probably late next week or early the following week, so that we can try to get to where we have enough firefighters to do full daytime shifts there. We don't have enough now that we can cover getting 2 people there every day of the week. So we're going to try to get to where we can do that. Hopefully not later than August 1st. I know I keep moving that date back, but we are somewhat constrained by the hiring environment, but glad that we have some applicants that we can review, and we thank all of our fire chiefs and EMS folks for the work that they do, because having spent more time on the side of the interstate working some of those calls here lately, it's not an easy task to handle. They too have a lot of stresses and traumas that they go through, and I just want to express my appreciation for what they do for us. Any questions about emergency services?
Anybody have any questions?
So, Mr. Hankins, I know we was talking about one meeting that we had scheduled earlier in the week that several of us was unable to attend. Did we get that rescheduled?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The meeting that we had scheduled earlier in the week that several of us couldn't attend with Town and Rural Retreat. Did
I'm
we
still
get that?
waiting to hear from Mr. Childers about when he wants to reschedule that. He was looking at late next week, which is one of the reasons why I haven't got our firefighter scheduled yet, trying to see when that's going to be.
All right, thank you.
And, you know, speaking about hiring people and volunteers, this week when I was in North Carolina, I think I went by no less than 8 volunteer fire departments down there, and every one of them had on their sign needing volunteers. So it's not just a Southwest Virginia thing.
One of my former communities that I worked in, Henry County, they're around Martinsville. They had a rescue squad close this week. It's almost entirely volunteer, but it's hard to make a volunteer rescue squad agency go these days and keep your people certified and trained. We don't want to see that happen, but we are tasked with providing essential emergency medical services, and that's what we're going to do.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Next, we have Mr. Williams, Parks and Rec.
Gentlemen. All right, well, just to wrap up how this year's gone, it's been a turnover in staffing, except for me. This past year, we hired a program assistant that was able to get a lot of additional community programs up and running, and also a sports coordinator, and then within 2 months, both of them resigned right when campground and pool was opening, and baseball and softball season was going, so I lost my mind for a couple days, or weeks, and still haven't found it yet. But over the past, but just over on the 14th, I hired a new sports coordinator, Ross Wythe, and he's been very eager to learn, and he's been able to jump in and help supervise these ball games and finish out our season, which for baseball and softball was last night. And thinking about our sports programs, working with the new director over at the Wythe Parks and Rec has been very good. It's been a great, good transition, good communication between us and them compared to past years. We've already got a lot of rule changes in some of our sports programs coming up to improve it. And we just partnered up with them and announced that we're going to have a rec league night with the River Turtles on July 14th. Registration's out online for all our rec leagues to participate in. Also, we partnered up with or have accepted supplies and donations of money from the new Chevy dealership. They've wrote checks directly to our youth leagues, and I'm delivering that to them. They've also provided a free baseball and softball clinic earlier this year that we had probably about over 100 participants in that from Wythe County. Jumping around over to the campground, last year we ended the season financially in the black, just barely in the black. But this year, with all the transitions and vacancy in my department, I was very lucky to have our manager out at the campground come back again this year, and she's done a great job being able to manage that to keep the campground up and running and get things rolling. And we've had several loyal employees come back from part-time that know what they're doing, and they knew how to get things going and going from there. This year's been the slow start because, well, I mean, it seemed like winter stuck around for as long as it wanted to. Up through Memorial Day, we were dealing with the rainy season, and it was cold and wet, and that also affected our pool opening, and our pool numbers here the past few weekends have been just kind of a little bit lower, but on the warm days it's been picked up. This year I've been lucky to have a ambitious young lady to be our pool manager, and she's taken heart on how to manage the pool with the daily maintenance, and whenever I hired her, she was within a week having a full staff that she recruited, and she also had them lined up to be certified, so was able to get all that. We had some hiccups at the beginning of the season for the pool because we were getting some maintenance done, and then as we were trying to do our yearly maintenance of vacuuming, our in-pool vacuum stopped. And but I was able to acquire a onboard or on-deck pool vacuum, and we've been able to pick up and go with that. Know that we have renovations planned to replaster the pool and come after Labor Day. That's just how I was able to work in with National Pools. I've been up to date with them with our pool heater, but it's not up to them. It's Lock and Bar, the heater company. They make them to order, and they are behind, and they have not given us an ETA of when they'll have ours ready. So that's where we're with that on that. Earlier this year, before the campground began or opened up, I worked with our county administrators on increasing our part-time pay to be more competitive with the town, because they increased all their part-time to directly, I think, starting at 15, and then they had scales on that. I do thank Mr. Barron and Mr. Hankins about working with me on getting that started prior to our season beginning, because it doesn't make sense to have the part-time people started at one level and then increase whenever the fiscal year comes in. So we had enough monies and got that approved through there. Adria Playground is the next biggest one. Renovation, the demolition and grading's been done thanks to our buildings and ground department. Really thank them very much for demoing that and getting grading done for that. They started last week with installing. Landon also put in a good drainage system so that we won't have so much runoff going into the playground, because we are planning to have it at have entry level at ground level to try to keep it as inclusive as possible. We've had a few hiccups with the company, and I called them yesterday, and they've also agreed to, they're going to send us out 2 ADA ramps to install and 110 timbers, which are to help keep the mulch that we have out there in the areas that we need to, where we may need to have to keep it blocked in a little bit more. But working with them has been very, it's been a very good working environment with them. But that's been basically a year and so, I'll have any questions, comments, concerns?
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Williams? What's the timeline on the playground equipment?
When I talked to Jeff last, the ground foreman out there, he was hoping next Friday to have the installation done, and then we're working on our timeline for the next week to put in to blow in all the mulch. I've been working with, or just talked with Johnny Kinzer and Landon back here, and we've got some plans coming up to get that done. But he's hoping he's very ambitious on getting that done by next week, but it just depends on the weather too.
Well,
So, but very soon.
all right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mary Jo?
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for all their hard work on this upcoming fiscal year budget that you all have approved for us all. I really appreciate what you've done for my department. And I'd also like to reiterate what Mr. Hankins had said about Chuck, my neighbor, my office neighbor. He's really done a good job as the emergency services coordinator. So. This past year, well, we're still accepting applications for dispatchers, so anyone that knows anybody? Not counting myself, I have 10 full-time and 3 part-time. A lot of the applications that we have been receiving, the applicants are attending college or are starting college in the fall when they're just wanting part-time. And at times we have trouble accommodating their schedule or working around their schedules, because a lot of the applicants are like in medical fields, and they have to do ride-alongs and clinicals and that type of thing. So it's just hard for us to accommodate those schedules a lot of times. We do what we can with what we've got now working. But on June the 12th, I hired 2 full-time employees, and they We're doing some online training and stuff to get certified. However, this past Wednesday, one of those resigned to go to Pulaski. 911, she accepted the job there because of the pay. They started out a lot more. I have 2 in basic dispatch school this week, and they should finish up today. With our high call volume, still, they're hard to cover at times, but with the personnel that I've got right now, they're working a lot of overtime, and they've been proficient as possible. Our goal is to eventually have 4 on day shift, and 3 on night shift. Eventually, if I can get up to staff, which would be 13 to 15 full-time employees. And then our radio system should be up and going by no later than September, October. Should be in,
Say November.
oh, November, okay. Okay, November.
Say November, deliver September, would be okay.
Okay, all right. And then we should be, with our EMD mandated, we're supposed to be up and going by the end of the year, 1st of January anyway, so. That's all I have. Just need personnel. And I'm still getting applications in, and we've been going over those.
Does anybody have any questions for Mary Jo?
And then Martha sends me one about once a week. So.
You still giving a bonus, sign-on bonus?
We have offered that. We've only had one paid out.
Mm-hmm.
And physically for the dispatch center, with the new building being constructed, we had to have a few hour cutoff period of all power and generator power, which was the first real true test in 10 years of our backup battery system over there. And it functioned very well, and I think we still have, 5 or 6 hours left remaining on battery.
About 5.5 hours, yes, sir.
So it was the first time you just cross your fingers and hope it works. They have backup plans in place in case it didn't, but everything worked well on it. So.
What's the average number of 911 calls y'all get a year?
You know, I figured somebody was going to ask me that. And, I don't know right off. I could get you a figure, but I don't know right off.
Give us a number while I start a pool after the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
It's one thing to talk about total number of calls, but it's also, if you add in the calls for service, so every time there's a radio interaction with an officer or a first responder, it's hundreds a day. And we have a good crew. I'm very happy with these folks. I want to keep them and retain them and make them career folks and reward them. But we need more folks to fill in behind them.
What are you seeing with the 911 text? Do y'all get a lot of those?
We don't get a lot, no. But, I mean, we have checked it. We just checked it last week to make sure it does work. But we don't receive a lot of those.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Miss Williams, Finance.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm happy and pleased to report that the finance department's fully staffed now. We hired Christy Murray for the payroll, and Dolores Library moved from water department for our AP clerk. And they're thriving and learning government accounting and our procedures, and we're really pleased with them. We're becoming a cohesive team working together. They pulled together very successfully to issue the extra 13,000 checks that we did begin in the middle of May through June for tax rebates. So, and also in March, we went live with our Tyler Munis upgrade, all departments. And this was a team effort between finance, IT, and all the departments to get this up and running. We've continued training in Tyler and scheduled training for other departments as they've needed it. We've been working diligently with all departments to increase open communication and understanding of the finance procedures. And also, we've been working with the new department heads to get them up and running, with our budget process, our AP process, payroll and everything. So we work with all the other different departments a lot. We've been cross-training our new employees for backup operations. Say, if our AP clerk has to be out, then the other clerk can back her up and do what needs to be done that day. We finished a successful audit for fiscal year 22. We've started on fiscal year 23. RFC, Robinson Farmer Cox, were here the first week of June, and they'll be back to complete it in October. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Anybody have any questions for? Mary Jo may have some questions about how you got fully staffed.
I only had to staff 4, so that's the difference in what she has to do. It's taken a while, but we're really pleased with the team we have now.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your hard work. And Miss Williams, do we need her anymore? If she needs to, I know it's the end of the fiscal year. If you need to,
Whatever you need to do, you're good.
We're working on it. I've been sending them texts.
She's multitasking.
Yeah, it's called delegation. All right, land and Sayers, buildings and grounds, solid waste, lawn care maintenance, electrical, HVAC.
We're currently got 2 open positions, one for a maintenance position and one for a maintenance supervisor foreman. Some of the big projects we completed this year were 2 compactors installed at Pump Hollow, paving of Apple House and Speedwell. We've done new cabinets in the juvenile clerk's office area, new flooring in the old courthouse, and certain court buildings. Done HVAC upgrades to the judicial building. Working on the camera installation of the judicial building now. We've started receiving the equipment, waiting on an installation date, hopefully within the next couple weeks or a month. Working on getting the new circuit court roof put out to bid here with the engineering firm. Like Kevin said, we assisted with the tear down of Adrian playground and done some grading and other stuff there. Trying to get the mulching project lined out. The next coming year, we've got some more HVAC replacements, another compactor, more flooring to be installed in the admin building and the boardroom, upgrades to the clock tower to get it functioning, and that's pretty much it. Does
Anybody have anything for Landon? Just one thing to put on your radar, and it's not an emergency, but will you look and think of a solution to fix the base of those columns at General District Court where people's kicked them and whoever made those things out of styrofoam? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I don't know what solution there is, just
have to restuck over.
Maybe, I mean, the whole courthouse complex looks great, and then when you walk up there and see styrofoam.
It's funny you mentioned, when I did the Chautauqua 5K last Saturday, I parked there at the courthouse and walked around that side, and I was noticing how much worse those have gotten. I hadn't said anything to Landon about it, but we got to come up with some type of
Yeah,
metal
like I said,
cover
I
or
don't know
something.
what the solution, but as long as it's styrofoam, it's never going to hold it up.
Let's see what we can do about it.
I don't know if bag of Quick Creek
Because they say concrete, and then when they kick it, they won't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, it's not a. I know you got a lot on your plate, but it just everything. Everything on the complex looks so good, and then you got the bath. So, all right.
Not that I don't appreciate all department heads. Landon's one of our newest one as well, and while I didn't comment on Mary Jo and Regina and all the rest of them, like he said about Danny coming on and doing well, Landon's obviously come on this year and filled in that position and then taken the position and working, very well, not only with his staff, but with the other departments and everything, and I appreciate what he's doing and glad to have him leading our department now.
Be interested to see how many steps you get in a day. All right, Todd Catron, IT. And Todd, don't come up here asking for money. We just started.
I won't ask for money again. Some of this has already been mentioned, but I'll mention it again. We worked with all the departments, major upgrade to Tyler units this year. We went from version 11.3 to 2021.5. How many steps is that? Didn't look that up, sorry. I know it's at least 5 to 7 version step that we went up. So that was a big deal. We also implemented utility billing so that they can take a payment in cashiering, and that goes straight into Tyler Munis, and there's no more double keying and what have you for that. We've begun the InterGov process. InterGov is a package for the building department for forms and maybe licensing. We haven't decided yet, but that process has begun. We're waiting on Tyler to give us a date to say, all right, we're ready to start working with you on that one. Worked with PowerPhone to get a new server and some software installed that will allow trained 911 dispatchers to assist with medical emergencies until first responders are on the scene. Trained being the key word, they have to be trained. But this is a system that will, help them know what to tell people to do in an emergency. We're also working with local fire and EMS folks to get an ESO interface server in place with Spillman. ESO is the record management software that fire and rescue uses, and Spillman is what we use. So they do what they do, key their stuff in, turn right around and key it in Spillman. This interface allows them to put it in once, and everybody gets it. So that'll help everybody out there. We, as you know, we have 2 phone systems, Fortinet and Avaya, Avaya being the oldest one. We're going to consolidate everyone on the Fortinet system. We were able to find a partner organization that we feel like we can trust and bring in to assist us. The reason we need this organization coming in, we've got a very complicated phone system that we're going to build, right? It's complicated already, but it has to be complicated going back just because of all the organizations that we host and how this organization wants its phone system this way, this one wants it this way. Not everybody's the same. So we're working with those folks. We hope to get that project kicked off in the very near future. So we can do away with one system, everybody's on the same thing, and it'd be the new system. Landon mentioned we've received the equipment and for the new security system down there. We've got the inventory. The vendor has his folks lined up. As soon as we verify that we've got all the parts and pieces, they're ready to start scheduling and get that installation going. In this room, it's been something that's been talked about for a couple of years now, but we will be upgrading the video recording and sound equipment in here. Got a couple of vendors. I've already got one quote working. So they're going to come in and upgrade our cameras so we'll have better quality video.
sound so that people can hear us, and give us the ability for live streaming, which we tried a couple times last year, and it wasn't. We did it, but it wasn't the best. This will be straight from the system, and hopefully, if we ever need it again, we'll be able to. It'll be all right. But just give us a better quality product when we put it out to our people in the county. What seems like a long time ago, I talked about getting this on an upgrade cycle, like a 4-year cycle. Well, we purchased our first lot of PCs for that upgrade cycle, so trying to get on a 4-year upgrade. I know that may, it's important to stay up to date. Otherwise, we end up in a security hole. We end up with applications that won't work with other applications, those kind of things. So we're getting on that cycle now, and we've purchased some stuff that we need for this new building coming in. But it's been a busy year for IT. We all stay after it, and we're looking forward to the next year. And appreciate the support that you guys have given us. Yes, absolutely. Any questions on anything?
Does anybody have any questions for Todd? Thank you for everything you guys do.
Absolutely.
Y'all been busy.
We like it that way. We like it.
All right, move on to Kyle Taylor, building inspection.
Good morning, gentlemen. I just want to first start off thanking the ladies out front. I was on vacation last week. Rhonda's off this week. And these ladies out here really stepped it up, and they're doing good. They're helping us with permits, getting them issued, taking payments this week alone. By the end of the day, since I've been back, we'll push out 47 permits issued this week alone. So I just want to thank them first. And thank you guys for all the support, for all the departments in the county. But as far as this past year, it's been very productive. There's been a lot of projects, construction projects going on in the county. We've issued 653 permits this year, brought in a little over $112,000 in permit fees, and it was an increase of construction cost of about $20 million in our county from last year alone. So there's a lot going on. We're finishing up some projects. We've been able this year to go through a lot of open files and open projects that have been from the past. So Wes and I are going through all those, trying to get those closed out, and that way we don't have any outstanding open permits. In the state of Virginia, permits only last 6 months up to 3 years. And going through our files this past year, we had some permits that were open 30 years ago. So we're trying to get all those closed up properly and get taken. And I want to thank you guys for allowing us to hire an inspector. Wes has jumped on board and he's doing a great job. He's getting out of he's focusing just on the residential side. He's already did some of his training and he's doing some testing prep right now. So hopefully here soon he'll have his certifications and we can move forward. So that's all I have. If you guys have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Kyle?
About what's the wait time from the time you get your permit to the time you get inspected?
The wait time for inspections?
Yeah.
So normally on inspections, when they call in, it's 24 hours. We'll get out. Depending on the situation, we can get out the same day if need be. I was out this morning at Adrian Park. When you guys go out there today, just be careful. It's pretty muddy out there from all the rain. I was out there this morning at 7:30 because they had concrete coming in. So if we have concrete coming in, if it's footer pour or whatnot, we try to accommodate them accordingly.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, Don, Chris, water and wastewater.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thanks for having us this morning. I'll briefly touch on, some of the things that, of course, it's been a busy year. Blue Star and some of projects that we're working toward getting started. So, but just, in general with the water department, we haven't totaled them all up for the year, but, we average several hundred work orders every month, both things that we issue in-house and also customer issue work orders that are customer related, going out and checking on the individual customers. We average around 100 or so missed utility tickets every month where we go out and locate utilities and things of that nature. Connections this year, we've done around a dozen new connections this year, probably less than last year. I don't think we've hit the same mark as last year, but so some of the newer construction is probably down a little bit as far as new homes that's connecting to our system, but a dozen or so is better than none. But disconnects for non-payments every month are about where they normally are. We're about 75 or so disconnects every month, and most of those get reconnected. We may have half a dozen that don't reconnect, and then we have to follow up with those and find the accounts. Projects we've been working on, water projects. We've got 2 construction projects that are ready to go to bid here, hopefully late summer, early fall. Lots Gap water tank, we secured all the materials for those, for that project. As far as the water main materials, around $1 million worth of materials, and we have most of that on site. The remaining of the order should be here this month, in July rather. So Barrett Mill Road, working on the land acquisition and the letter of condition items to get that project to bid, and we're hoping to get that bid out sometime in August or September if we can get the land and everything acquired. So get rural development approvals, the health department approval, and other regulatory issues that we have to get approved to get that moving forward. Planned capital projects, things that we have in the planning. I think the water committee has a recommendation for you coming up, but Dunford Road, Route 94, we have a recommendation for that. PDR is nearing completion, so that'll give us a path to move forward with making funding application for that project. We've got some tank repair projects that we'll be working on, SCADA projects, and some portable generator type projects that we'll be looking at as well. New regulatory issues. Seems like every time we turn around, we're seeing new regulations come out, typically handed down by EPA through the state, through DEQ, or through the health department. New things that we're seeing, of course, last year, lead service line inventory, which we're working on that now. Going to come through a process of elimination to determine homes that were built after a certain date that we know for sure don't have lead service lines. In my experience in the county, and Kelly, Kensers, and Rick Stoneman's, that we've all been here for 20 years, we've never ran into a lead service line. So I don't think we have any of those types of issues, but we have to work through that procedure and meet the state requirements for reporting that back to them. So we'll be working on that as well, continue. Cybersecurity, a new regulatory issue that's been handed down as well. We're going to have to work with Mr. Catherine's office and look at our cybersecurity for the water system, our SCADA system that operates all of our water system out there. So we're going to have to look at some security issues with that. And you guys may have heard of the PFAS requirements. You may have seen it on the news. Polyfluoroalkyl substances. It gets into drinking water. They call it forever chemical. So we're going to have to be looking at that on the water side and on the wastewater side. So the wastewater side, we'll be working with our industrial clients to make sure they're not putting that into the water that we receive, so it doesn't go out to the stream, because we can't really treat it. So there's going to be a whole process for that. Probably what will end up happening is that they'll probably end up passing that down into the local governments to remove that stuff from the water systems after they determine what's actually out there in the systems. But those are some new issues that we're dealing with. Wastewater, of course, the Blue Star spurred several projects. So we completed the Progress Park sewer extension. It's out there. It's ready to go. It's been completed for several months now, and we're just waiting on Blue Star to get going and provide us the water we need to start pumping down the wastewater plant. So Fort Chisholm wastewater plant, worked with the consultants. We've been through that whole design process. That project's ready to bid. Of course, we're kind of, I guess, somewhat of a holding pattern, but we're ready to move forward with that. Fort Chisholm Maximum Sewer Repairs, we've got that project bid. The contract's been awarded. That work should be starting here in July. July 10th is their start date. So that's about a 6-month project there. We obtained the funding for Austonsville Phase 2, which will basically provide the remaining upgrades to the Austonsville sewer system over there. So we'll be getting that completed. We have a task order issued to one of our term services engineers in the package here as well. And again, same regulatory issues here at the PFAS on the wastewater side. So busy year. We appreciate the board's support. Appreciate the personnel changes we've been allowed to make. Girls are working hard up front. We've had some change over there, but we've got a new person up front, and we're just continue to move forward. So, any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Tom?
The Dunford Road project, is it too late for people to turn in forms?
No, sir. Anytime they want to turn in, the more information we gather, the better. Yeah.
I talked to a couple people out there, and they either didn't get the survey, or the one person said that by the time that whoever brought it out there stuck it on the back windshield wiper of their van, and by the time they found it, it was wet and wasn't worth a darn.
If you know who they are, we can send another copy to them. We mailed them, and then we try to go out door to door, like we said. You know, we try to put it somewhere obvious where they'd see it. But,
I don't disagree with that happening. I'm just saying, when they tell me they didn't get it, I want to be able to tell them, well, you can go right up there and do it. And I just want to make sure they could.
yeah, and if you've got a name, just let me know. We'll get it to them. Yeah.
Don, how are you on staffing now?
We're good. We're down. Mr. Stoneman's out, but we do have a position there to hire. We've advertised. We're not seeing a lot of applications. Unfortunately, I did get one the other day, so I do have one to pull from on the water side. Wastewater side, we're good. We do have a position available, but we're kind of in a holding pattern because of where we're at with the wastewater. So, but other than that, we're in pretty good shape right now. And of course, we hired Mr. Lawrence as our staff engineer, and he's been a big asset to us, and all these little projects and things that we're getting ready to kick off, big projects in some cases, but that'll be a big help to us. Already has been. So. Good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We usually save the best for last, but unfortunately we didn't this time. Mr. Cancer?
You want to talk about his artwork decorations?
I wasn't going to bore you with details, but I guess now I will.
You're already on the list.
Well, thank you for keeping me employed another year, and I'll give you a few details on what's going on. I didn't know if Don was going to mention Will there, but he did. Finally, Will has really been, we got lucky getting him, and he's coming along good. They've already been out in the woods trying to get Barrett Mill straightened out with finding pins and tracking water lines, because, GIS, it looks good on paper, but sometimes it's not correct, so they've been doing a good job. But I help out with a lot of other projects with Austinville. I've been learning about disinfection byproducts, and I've been learning about railroad stuff too. So we gotta do some stuff down here with the D-rail system, and of course a switch. And then, of course, Wythe County office building, it's going on. Danny was really driving it home, and then he's down at Apex now. But it slowed down a little bit, but we're still looking at August substantial completion. Courthouse work was just bid out. The bids came in. They're a little high, but compared to the engineer estimate, it's much less than that, so it still may be doable. Of course, Barrett Mill, and working on it, and Fort Chisholm Sewer Line and Dunford Road as a support role. Erosion system control and stormwater, of course, Lost Gap. Thrasher has met Virginia DEQ. They usually work in West Virginia, and they're struggling a little bit, so I've been helping them out. Kagan Interjects has come a long way. They've owned their third or fourth contractor, so it's looking good out there. they're gonna start taking out silt fence. They wanna take out some of their stormwater management basins, but right now I don't think it's a good time.
Tell them which one Caden Interjects is.
Oh, Caden Interjects is the one that is just right out here between Pepsi and Lover's Lane, and it crosses with County and Town of
Right.
Whitfield.
Solar panels.
Solar, I'm sorry, the solar project. And, of course, we're working with J.C. Weaver down here with the haunted house stuff. He did a lot of grading out there. We're trying to get him legal, and we're struggling a little bit with that one. Mr. Dorfman down here, there's some complaints on him across the creek from the old mill. He's just working in his yard, but we're working with him trying to get him legal as well. Glenn Eaton, he's about like his daddy. Catch him about anywhere, dude. Trying to help him. Stay legal. Georgia Wythe High School, working with them a lot. They've been having a lot of trouble finding good field material. Town of Retreat, I think, has found them some shale out on. And we work with them a little bit, trying to get an E&S permit to try to keep them rolling. Of course, Apex Center, that's been a monster down there, but we've got a good contractor, and they're really rolling in there. Project Park Pump Station, we got some erosion and sediment control issues out there. All the water drains right to that gate, and it's washing some things out, so we're going to get that fixed. Got a new permit application from Free Will Baptist Church out here on Route 11. Looks like they've got a good engineer with a good set of plans. They're going through DEQ now, but we're reviewing their plans for E&S right now. Been helping Landon with paving projects. That's been really fun. Of course, VDOT submitted the application this morning for the Fort Children Crosswalk project. Revenue sharing. Help me, Stephen, what's the latest one we just submitted? Got a pre-application in for that one, but that's a continuous thing as well. Also working on the VDOT LAP training, so we can have a certified person for locally administered projects. Working with Landon on Circuit Court roof, that's been a lot of fun. And then, of course, Franklin Street building, that's continued on. But I guess that's all for me, if you guys have any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Johnny?
You summarized millions of dollars project very quickly there. But
Well, I didn't even mention the 800-acre solar, but they've, I don't know if they're taking our advice or not, but the Caden Energy project, they used topo off the internet or whatever, and they really had some issues with grading, not being able to get ditches to ponds. And so they actually called us and said they did some LiDAR and they're redesigning the project. So hopefully it'll go much smoother than the other one.
All right, thank you, sir. That's all we had for the department heads for the year-end reports. Before we move on, I just want to, and I've said it before in board meetings and committee meetings, I think we've got the best group of county staff that we've had since I've been on the board, and we appreciate everything you do. If you would go back and pass that on to your people, unless you're like Chuck and don't have any people. But we certainly appreciate everything you do for the county and the citizens and economic development and all that other stuff. And we had Miss Ayers here from DSS, but she took off. We certainly appreciate you folks as well. Moving on to Assistant County Administrator report, and I know we've covered a lot of yours. In the department head reports, Mr. Hankins.
I had in here that I didn't have any action items, but I have one that has come up. We committed to provide some supplemental funding to our rescue squads for keeping their pay competitive as we go through this transition. The Rural Retreat Rescue Squad requested one change to the wording of their agreement, and that was to
allow them to opt out. There's a clause in our agreement that we can opt out by December 31st when that agreement expires. They also want the ability to opt out. I think we can give that to them, but I didn't feel comfortable making that executive decision, wanted the board's input on it. I don't think it's going to matter either way. We're going to do our best to work with them, but just wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be an issue.
If they don't want more money,
Yeah, it's fine with me.
they can opt out. Any department can opt out if they don't want more money. If they don't want money to leave, they can leave.
Everything else is written in my report. You all have had the opportunity to review it. Got a lot of pictures illustrating progress, especially of the Apex ice rink. So be glad to answer any questions, but we've covered it with the engineering report and some of the other staff as well.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hankins? Did we leave him tracks?
It was amazing to me. I had not been able to see the concrete polishers work in person before, but seeing those guys riding them around like hovercraft was pretty fun. I wanted to put a hockey puck between them and see what they could do.
All right. County Administrator Report, Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, but before I get started, just that his name was mentioned, but since he is here with us, Will, if you'll stand up. This is Will Lawrence. He's our new staff engineer. I think a couple committee members met him, but he's new to our department, or new to our county. He's a Grayson County native, and we're glad to have him over here. He needs some farmland in Wythe County, so we can keep him over here for a long time, but we're glad to have him on board, and he's been a real asset. Thank you, Will.
Learn all you can from Johnny on the technical side. Anything that doesn't have to do with engineering, do not take advice from him.
First item is a memo from Miss Regina Williams. Request you all transfer the $350,630.55. This is our ARPA money that we have been using jail expenses and other things to draw down. Request that transfer to the general fund.
All right, entertain a motion to transfer $350,630.55 from the ARPA line item to the general fund for the jail expenses.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Horny. Is there any questions or discussion about that request? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
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 Aye. So approved.
Next item is a few year-end budget transfers and or budget actions. The first one, and I'll point you to page 174 of the package. 173 and 174 are our final year-end. So you see revised budget. You'll see expenditures for the year and any required appropriations. Lead Mines Rescue Squad was over budget at the end of the year. As y'all remember, you all transferred some money into them to try to make sure we covered everything a little bit over. So would request an amendment and appropriation of the 1815-72 or 1816 to round it off to 32031 Lead Mines Rescue Squad.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to amend and appropriate that amount.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Burnett, a second by Mr. Smith. Are there any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Terry?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So approved.
Next item on the page 174 of that report as well, if you'll notice down under the first expense total, you'll see the revised budget was $39 million plus. Spent for FY23 was $32 million plus, leaving an unspent amount of almost $7.8 million this year. And that, as you can look up through there, you can see it went across several departments. We appreciate everyone been mindful of their budgets. We don't spend money just to spend money. The departments don't spend money just to spend money. Social services doesn't spend money just to spend money. They're one of the big ones there. You see they're returning about $766,000 off of that. Water and wastewater, of course, we didn't start seeing the wastewater volume we anticipated, so almost 600 in wastewater and 250 in water this current year. So savings across the board there. Obviously, the largest one is the Wythe County Emergency Services that we have budgeted to start the implementation that won't go into place until this year. Underneath that are capital projects, and you will see that there was basically $30 million unspent there, but basically we're requesting a carryover of virtually all of that into next year. And at the bottom, you will see the school board carryover request of $18 million. On my memo on page 172, you'll see I am requesting that the board set a public hearing for July 11th, 2023 at 6:05 for consideration of all of these carryover amounts.
I want to entertain a motion to set the public hearing for July 11th, 2023.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Horny. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved.
And the last item, Mr. Chairman, is to authorize county administrator to transfer funds if needed between the departmental organizations for the fiscal year 2023 closeout. And what that is used for is we just put 1,816 in Landmines Rescue Squad, and so they're at zero balance for the year. But as the auditors do the work, there may be expenses in July that were $500 that we spent in July that need to be appropriated back to the last fiscal year. That would leave them in the negative, and that's where the auditors come back and say you have the next year where you had negative over expenditures in the departments. It just gives me the ability to move between, maybe take it out of the emergency services budget and put it in the Landmines Rescue Squad budget to balance out any of those overages that come out from the fiscal year end. So request your all's authorization to do so.
Right, entertain a motion to authorize, authorize Mr. Bear to transfer funds if needed between the departments.
So
for the closeout. I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Burnett. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved. Anything else, Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, next item, just following our public hearing, I would request that you all authorize the chairman to execute the 2 deeds to transfer parcels 14 and 15 to VDOT.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Cook. Do I have a second?
second.
I have a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any questions or discussion on that? I have a hard time giving VDOT anything for free. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved.
And last is the VJ-CCA Memorandum of Agreement. Mr. Phil Blankenbecker came here 2 or 3 months ago, and we approved a Memorandum of Agreement for DJJ. They have come back to him and said that the form that they sent or format was not correct and have sent this revised format. Would request your all's approval of this agreement.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the VJ-CCA agreement as presented.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Horny, a second by Mr. Terry. Any questions or discussion on that one? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So approved.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, County Attorney, Mr. Farthing, you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I do not have anything.
Glue that keeps the board together, Ms. Collins, you have anything? Right, move on to board reports. The Water Committee.
Okay, the Water Committee met on June 26, 2023, and recommends proceeding with task order number 1 for the Austonsville wastewater collection and treatment system improvements, Phase 2.
Mr. Barrett, you want to give a summary on that?
Don was just talking about this one. This is the finalizing the next set of work for the Austonsville project to upgrade the sewer system. The Mattern and Craig engineering firm on this one, and just request approval of this engineering work.
All right, coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. Is there any questions or discussion about that recommendation? Right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
So approved. Is that all from the Water Committee?
I believe that was it.
All right, next we have the Insurance Committee.
I will give this report. You all, we aware of this. We talked about it during the budgeting time frame. These numbers were included in our budget and in the school year's budget. But I do request that you all approve the Key Advantage 1000, Key Advantage 500, and high deductible health care plans contributions as shown on page 206 of the package. And I will state that the committee's focus this year was trying to increase some payments towards family and dual plans because of the cost, and we were able to do so in this proposal thanks to, I think Mr. Klein helped with that and some others. But we appreciate that. We did see a almost 10% increase overall in our premiums this year, so that will help with that also.
Just point of order, Mr. Bear, with it coming from the Insurance Committee and not a board committee, do we need to do a motion?
I'd rather see a motion in a second. Yes, sir.
That's what I was thinking. All right, entertain a motion to approve the Insurance Committee recommendation.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any questions or discussion about the recommendation? Right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Terry?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. All right, move on to Board of Supervisors time. We'll start with Mr. Terry.
I just want to confirm kind of what you said earlier, Mr. Chairman, to our staff. Thank you all very much. A lot of hard work, a lot of major projects that's went on, so we appreciate you department heads and all your staff, just as he had said. Mr. Bair, Mr. Hankins, and Ms. Collins, thank you three for all your hard work and direction. And fellow board mates up here, thank you all very much. It's an honor and pleasure to serve with you all, and looking forward to another year. So, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. All happy 4th of July to everybody. Hope everyone has a happy and a safe one.
All right, Mr. Horny.
The only thing I wanted to bring up was Linda. Linda was talking about the dry road thing, and I talked to the people at Point Broadband just to put it out there of what happened. The way they talked was the internet is not available on dry road yet because of some reasonings. I want to say it was a right of way or something, but they have gotten everything straightened out, and they're getting ready to put it up through there, and that's the reason that no one on dry road got the notification. But now Gus said that he was in Speedwell and he didn't get notification either, so I don't know exactly why everyone didn't get it, but I would appreciate it if Point Broadband does make sure that they get his, and I'm pretty sure they're going to get it out to as many people as they can because they want the business.
If I'm not mistaken, and I don't remember if we discussed it here or Mount Rogers Planning District meeting, but they were in the process of hiring a marketing team a couple months ago just to focus on.
Well, they may have it because there was like 7 or 8 people it seemed like out there at Speedwell.
I know that you, if you go on the website and put your address in, if it's available, it'll pop up. If it's not available, it doesn't, which is fine for people that have some type of internet currently. But it doesn't do a lot of good to people that don't have any internet. So.
Well, and it doesn't always work either because
I mean, they sent me a thing to come sign up, and I went and talked to them about it, but when I go online and look it up, it says it's not available.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe they just haven't updated their internet or what.
I believe their new general manager told you that they would be hiring a marketing
Okay.
team when he came here and spoke in May. I know they've been using a lot of online methods to reach out to potential customers. I've been seeing the ads on my Facebook feed. So I know they're trying several ways to do that, and I have asked them to knock on doors to let folks know to go to some of our festivals and fairs. We've sent them some information about how to sign up and be vendors at some of the upcoming events like Heritage Days and that sort of thing, where they have customers that should be coming to that. So I think you'll see a more expanded effort from them over the next few months.
All right, anything else, Mr. Horn?
I believe that was it.
All right, gentlemen, fortunes with Mr. Smith.
I got a couple things. Mr. Byron, do we have an update on when the Orion Drive project will start?
The check was cut and has gone to VDOT, but I have not heard a start date. But it is all, they took forever to get an invoice to it. They got the invoice. We sent it to them immediately. It is in their court. I'll do a follow-up with them and see when they can start construction.
Okay, yeah,
The last we asked them, they said they anticipated a fall construction, but we'll ask for a more precise time frame.
The residents out there are starting to ask again. Staying on the roads, Grouse Ridge, any updates on the issues that was going on at Grouse Ridge other than what you shared the other day?
Other than the email I got from VDOT and the sheriff's office was made aware of it as well, just to try to watch.
Okay.
VDOT said if anybody's operating any heavy equipment on it, the sheriff's office, and they've got state police out there monitoring that as well.
All right. So. And Mr. Hankins, I know you had sent me an update on Jacksonville Heights yesterday afternoon. Any additional information today on that property?
The one mowing bid that came in was $350, and given how high that grass is, I think the contractor said, I'm going to have to send in guys with weed eaters to knock that down. We were asking for a couple of other quotes to meet our procurement. Danny has them going out. I think both are going out today. So we should have something by the 4th, which is the day when we can take action.
Okay. Thank you on that. Last thing I got is I did receive a communication yesterday off of Sunny Drive, which is off of Dana Road. There is a stray cat issue in that area. I know that we don't have any means to handle that as far as the county, but the resident has asked if we could reevaluate that. So I told him that I would bring it up at the board meeting. If you need any cats, talk to me. I'll give you a phone number. Jeez, I got one for you.
I dropped them all off at the Helders Farm.
That's all I got.
All right, Mr. Cook.
The only thing I got, I want to thank you for allowing me to participate in the last meeting on by the phone, and Mr. Bear for getting it set up. And I have nothing.
All right, Mr. Burnett.
I don't have anything, but again, I'd like to thank everybody for all the work this year, and hope y'all have a happy 4th.
All right, I think everything I had got covered. The detour signs, or Miss Myers brought that up. I was going to ask about that, but that's all I've got. Have a happy 4th of July. Enjoy the extra holiday off, and we'll be in recess for 5 minutes before we go on a tour, unless...
Nope, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hankins, y'all have anything? All right, we'll be in recess for 5 minutes. Thank y'all.